have another confession to make. And I'm going to get right to the point, but right after that I'm going to explain why, or else I'm going to look like the worst person in the world. But when my mother died, I partied for 30 straight days. Craziest part about it is everybody swore up and down that I had killed my mother, and I'm thinking, okay, y'all are out your mind. But now when I think back on that, and with nobody really being there, if anybody actually, just heard that, all kinds of crazy things come to mind. Crazy things come to my mind, and I was the one that did it. But, as a means to kind of like piggyback off of what my pastor preached in one of his sermons, he did a series called I Move Differently. And this is something that he didn't touch on, and I'm just gonna kind of tack on an addendum and say that I grieved differently. My whole take on grief is different than the average person. Okay? If you expect to see me at a funeral, don't. Better yet, be surprised when you see me there. Because I went to so many, or should I say I was dragged to so many when I was a little girl, that now since I have a choice, I'm going to exercise that choice. And it don't matter what you think, what you say, how you feel about me. I don't give a flip. So with that being said, it wasn't that I didn't love her. Of course I loved her. She raised me. We used to go at it like cats and dogs sometimes, but there were times when I went all out for her. And I do remember one time when she and I was talking about that, and I think it had to do with my grandmother dying. And I was like, I understand. I was like, I love that lady so much. I was like, I'm gonna miss her so much now that she's gone. Why can't I cry? And my mom told me, she said, you probably aren't crying because you know that you did right by her when she was alive. And most people cry at a person's funeral out of guilt. You had nothing to be guilty for. And when she said that, I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty profound. So, I'm not going to say that I didn't cry when my mother died. I remember one day, oh my God, we were living together on the east side. And my oldest was about somewhere between 1 and 2 years old. My mom, she had some running around to do. Whatever it was she did, she was gone from morning till night. And I was left alone with that little baby. She had told me everything to do with that child. My child, mind you. She told me everything to do with that child. When she was gone for that long a duration, I felt lost. And I'm just like, wow. And what's even worse, I didn't have any children before her, that's true. Before my daughter. But I had enough cousins to get in enough practice. I knew how to feed, I knew how to burp, I knew how to hold, change diapers, bathe, the whole 9 yards. And I even did that with Chantel. But the fact that my mother stayed hovered over me, making sure that I did everything to her liking. I had actually slipped into the habit of, is this good? Is this alright? Is this to your liking? About my child. And then when she was gone, to the point where one day, when it came to know what to do with my child, I fell apart. I'm like, oh no, this can't work. And that was when I insisted that we had separate dwellings. So, needless to say, if my mother had that kind of impact on me for one day, imagine what her not being there for me to turn to for the rest of my life was gonna do. But Anyway, don't ask me why. I just did. I just did. The opportunity was there, you know. The one thing that really gets me the most is the fact that the duration of the celebration. Because, I mean, repast. I didn't even know that it had a name for it until like maybe about 3 to 5 years ago. All I knew was after the funeral and putting the person in the ground and everything, you all met up at somebody else's house to talk about the memories and stuff you faced. That was all I knew. Until my cousin Ricky died. They had an all-out barbecue. I'm up here, I'm like, huh? People changed out of their funeral clothes. It went from a sad goodbye to a just Garfield reunion. And I'm up here, I'm like, okay, I didn't think to change, so I was completely overdressed. It was summer, so it was hot. And, you know, they up there in their shorts and they breaking out with the bottles and the barbecue, and people up there, they laughing, they talking, the kids, they running around playing. I'm here, ain't nothing but a gangsta party. I'm up here, I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't we just put somebody in the ground like about an hour ago? Okay. I didn't complain. But it was the first time I had ever seen anything like that. So, I mean, I'm saying that to say that maybe that was my choice in dealing with the loss of my mother. But I mean, oh God, woo! I heard so many tragic rumors involving just her death alone. I can imagine what people thought I did with the insurance money, and now since I got all of y'all's attention, I'll say it again. What insurance money? So what if she took out a life insurance back when I was an infant? Hear me and hear me good. Okay? The policy got canceled almost 20 years before she died. Why? Because the insurance man died before she did! With no damn money. God. And the craziest part about it, At least I was real with my feelings. I couldn't say that for her spotlight stealing sister. And I ain't even gotta say no names. Hasty Bridges family, you already know. She was the one that started the what? She was the one that started the rumor that I killed my brother. I'm like, really? And you believe her? She was an attorney, for God's sake. If she really believed that I killed her sister, would I be walking the streets? Let alone partying, in the next room of her deathbed for an entire month? Hell, if I would have been smart, I would have threw a rent party. But, I'll tell you one thing I was celebrating. I was celebrating my freedom. Oh yeah. Shopaholic. And just because it wasn't no gambling addiction or no drinking addiction or no kind of drug or smoking addiction or even a partying addiction. Shopaholism is just as toxic. Anything in excess is toxic. Anything. But I ain't gonna lie, it was hard for me to keep a job because every time it was my payday, it was her payday. At one point, I was paying bills at 2 households. Nobody knows that. Nobody needed to know that. She was my problem, not theirs. It got so bad at one point I asked my manager, I was like, can I claim my mother as a dependent on my taxes? Because there were times when I wish I could. I loved her, she loved me in her own little weird, twisted kind of way. Hated the men that loved me and loved the men who hated me. That was her. Sometimes she embraced me, sometimes she pushed me away. Never really knew me. She had this idea of me, and that's what people went off of. And plus, on top of that, it really didn't help the fact that before she died, there was already suspicion of rumor that I had killed her. Until I told her and I was like, yo, you gotta fix this. Oh yeah. My cousin Drew, the whole family went down to Columbus, to go and see about him. He was in the hospital. They figured that he was seeing his last days. The family that had shunned him for like I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years. Never had a good thing nice to say about him other than the fact that he went into the ministry. Yeah, they decided to all go and gather around his bed and, I don't know, care, pretend to care, look like they care, I don't know. I couldn't go because I was in college, so. And even then I partied. So here I am, grown, on my own for about 2 weeks to a month. That's about how long we were down there. I wasn't pregnant at the time. I had just started attending school. And my mother's up here telling me that if people call for her, don't tell them that I'm alone. Just keep telling them that she's busy. Why can't I just tell them that you're out of town? She was weird that way. Anyway, you know, that whole Bible song and verse, you know, honor thy mother and thy father. Not to say that I don't believe in it, but let's not take it out of context. It does not mean to do everything they say. They're human just like us. But I respected her wishes. And that might have worked except for one thing. She had like about 3 or 4 friends in one family unit. So this is what would happen. The mother would call. My mom's busy. She said, can she call you back? About an hour later, the daughter calls. My mom says she's busy. Can she call you back? The other daughter calls. My mom said she's busy. Can she call you back? That's like what? 1, 2, 3. And finally, the personal favorite that is not only cool with her, but she also cool with me. So that means that if I don't give the phone to my mama right away, because, you know, back then we had landlines and one phone, and her rule was, I'm grown, I pay the bills, my calls are more important than yours. If I'm on the phone, somebody calls for you, they gotta wait. If you on the phone, somebody calls for me, you gotta get off. Everybody knew this rule. So when she called, and I'm up here talking about, she's busy, can she call you back? Thumbs up. Now, times that all day, every day for the next 5 days. Do you kind of see where I'm going with this? And I didn't call her, she called me. Because back then you had to pay for long distance also. So when she called, I was like, you gotta fix that. She was like, what? What's wrong? I was like, your friends think I killed you. And she was like, come on, girl, stop playing. I was like, for real, you gotta call these people back and let them know that you are alive, kicking and well, okay? Before these people start sending police over here and whatever. So when she did that, needless to say, that rumor died down. But when she did die, later on, years down the line, and we were already in a whole other state, you know, things got ugly for me real quick. My family was judge, jury, and executioner. Some of them niggas to this day still ain't taking me off their parole. But whatever. Anyway, I know y'all heard the term, it just happened. And I know y'all cracking the hell up like, get the fuck out of here. How you gonna stumble on a party that happened in your house that you sat out of your mouth lasted for 30 straight days? Well, here's the scenario. I found her body. I told my kids, or better yet, confirmed with my kids, because they already knew they were in the room with her. Let me take you back to the night before. And I already said that she and I, we would go back and forth like Fred and Lamont, Dorothy and Sophia, Jackie and Beverly. You get where I'm going with this. Anyway, we were in a 2-bedroom flat. Three-quarters of the house was about as big as my living room. And yet we managed to squeeze 1, 2, 3, 5 people in there. So it was like, the rooms were too small. My mom was claustrophobic. The rooms were too small. She didn't want either bedroom. So what she did was she would crash on the couch in the living room every night. Me and the kids, we had like bunk beds, and we all slept in one room. The other room didn't even have a bed in it. So the night before, she asked me if I would switch with her. Asked if she could sleep in my bed because her stomach wasn't feeling right. Stomach. I was like, you want to go to the hospital? She was like, no, just my stomach ain't feeling right though. I don't feel like crashing on the couch. Do you mind? I was like, nah, cause Kiara, she in her baby swing. She ain't going to sleep anytime soon. I don't think I will either. So she went and got on the bottom bunk of my bed. And it was like Chantel and Jaquan would sleep on the top bunk and me and Kiara would sleep on the bottom. So my baby girl just would not sleep that night. She wasn't crying or nothing like that. We was chilling watching TV, no big deal. Everything was nice, everything was quiet. I got up and did something at about like maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. Came across a pair of my mother's house shoes that she had been searching for like over a week. And I took them in there to her. I was like, hey Mom, I found your house shoes, so I'm putting them right here by the bed. And she was like, thank you. I was like, you're welcome. Those were the last words we ever exchanged. The next morning came. Kids came out the room, told me nothing. I'm thinking that this is just any ordinary day. Morning Mom, morning kids, I'm about to go to work. Sit down, eat your cereal, be quiet till your grandma wakes up. Be good, I'll see y'all later. I was about to leave out the house. And I'm thinking, sure enough, she had a rough night. But I know in my heart of hearts that if I don't tell this woman at least that I am leaving out when I come back, she gonna give me hell. So I was like, y'all be cool. I'm going to go back here and tell Mom that I'm leaving now. Poke my head in. Hey Mom, I'm about to go to work now, okay? The kids are up. They got something to eat. Kiara got a bottle. Everything's cool. They should be alright until you wake up. Ma, did you hear me? I walked in there. I touched her leg. I said, Ma. I had to make sure that I was touching her leg because it was as hard as wood. Rigor mortis had set in. I'm like, this lady is gone. I took a few minutes. I sat down next to her. I can't tell you everything that I said to her. But I knew that it was going to be my final goodbye. They held a memorial service for her here that I couldn't get to in time. Here's something that nobody thought to ask but me, and to this day I guess I will never find the answer. For an attorney to be so wrapped up in convincing people that I killed her dearly departed sister, and that she pulled out all the stops for this memorial service, wouldn't it have been more heartfelt to send for the body? I couldn't afford to do nothing with it. Nobody even asked me what I was going to do with it. The one auntie that was actually going to come down there and help me, they talked her out of it. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? So hell, I don't know. Maybe the party was a combination of screw you since you shunned me, / bye mom, I'm gonna miss you, / I'm free finally, / this has been one hell of a week. I'm not sorry for it. I don't regret it. All I know is that I needed it. It wasn't too wild. It wasn't too crazy. I mean, my God, we all had kids there, so. Y'all know how y'all had those adult parties with the kids in the vicinity. You ain't gonna let it get too far out of hand. But, oh yeah. 30 straight days. Was it planned? No. Was it expected to last that long? Hell no. Did I see it coming to an end? Not really. But when it hit day 30, I told everybody, get out. And that was it. So, for all y'all that heard that kidnapped her and took her against her will and wouldn't let her come back, and she was crying all the time. That was the only part that was true. The crying all the time. And I saw that as God was healing her, because before she started crying, she had to take those stupid eye drops to keep her eyes moist. While she was having them crying spells, that was one prescription she didn't have to take. So, I didn't kidnap my mom, I didn't beat her, I didn't rob her, damn sure didn't kill her. I just lightweight celebrated because I couldn't take care of her, me, and 3 kids. Plus her habit. So, I mean, it is what it is, or what it was, or whatever. But I guess this will be what people would call the second chapter of my book. Peace out, y'all.